Open the meeting for June 26, 2024, Conservation Commission, Bellingham Municipal Center, and some Zoom participants. I will announce that two of the Zoom participants, easier to say than do, are Ariane Barden and Noel Laos. I was mispronouncing, sorry, Noel, who will be participating by Zoom. So we will be doing roll call votes as part of the process that's required for the public meetings where there are Zoom participants. We do have some restrictions with the new transfer to a new website for the town-wide website, and still reaching some of the information that was available with Concom members in the portal. That system is not quite up and running yet. However, members of the public can now view on the Concom website through the town agendas and minutes from previous meetings that have been approved. So those are available. They were not before. So progress is being made, and we're asking the public to be there with us, and we'll continue to plug along until everything IT wise is squared away and all the access for data is back to what we hope it will be. But we'll open with the continued hearing for notice of intent for 0 Maple Street, a proposed 19,525 square foot industrial style building, parking areas, 3 proprietary treatment devices, and 2 subsurface infiltration systems, which coordinate applicant Representative Shane Oates from Independence Engineering LLC. We have received a request from the applicant's representative recently to continue this meeting, as they are still working on items with the planning board and not prepared to provide us with final documentation that we require before we close our portion of the hearings, even though we've concluded all things that we needed to do on our part. And you're still on track with that, Rob?
Yeah, so do you want an update or?
Yeah, we can, that's part of it. It's open for.
Sure. So with that, there actually is some, there's quite a bit left with the planning board. It hasn't even gone to peer review yet for the engineering side. So, no. So, yeah, I would recommend keeping this open until the planning board has their final plans. So.
Well, we don't feel any rush. We've not basically do is continue. And they want to continue to.
The 24th?
What was 26?
Oh, no,
Okay,
24th.
24th of July. So I will, as the applicants requested that, and we don't have any pressing need to do it sooner, I will entertain a request or a motion to continue this hearing to the evening of July 24th at 7 p.m. So moved. Thank you, Neil. Second, thank James. Okay, roll call vote. Noel.
Aye.
Ariane?
Aye.
All right, and in person, Don?
Aye.
Steve? Neil? Mike, aye, and James, aye. Unanimous vote, both on Zoom and in present, so we will continue now. Thank you. Next item is the notice of intent, continued hearings for 1052 South Main Street, construction of a drainage pipe. Replace the failing drainage pipe located within 100-foot buffer zones of BBW. Von Winkner's property owner, applicant rather, and Chris Zurich is DPW is representing project. Chris.
I don't think Chris is here.
Or someone to present the plan? Rob's going to present.
Like,
So Rob will be presenting the plan for
Yeah.
us, the latest ideas that we have moving this along.
yeah, so just to give an update on the situation, I know we had pretty in-depth conversation at the last public hearing for this. I went out on the site with the DPW just to kind of get the lay of the land and figure out what's going on over there. And basically what we're doing right now is we're working with, Wagner, I believe is the gentleman's name, who owns the property. So he actually has on his outlet for that pond, he uses that for his irrigation. And it's actually tiered, so he draws from the upper tier and there's a lower tier where he can draw from. I guess what happens is when there's inundation downstream with that pipe and there's flooding on basically upstream from the pond, what the operating procedure has been forever has been where that upper tier is, they take off a piece of what that dam is to allow the water to flow. What we're talking to him about is relocating the drawdown to the lower tier. So to keep that drawdown of that outlet permanently open, so that 9-inch pipe or 8-inch pipe, whatever it is, isn't totally inundated during a larger storm event. And basically, because I understand that really in order to replace the pipe, you want a drainage study, understandable, because it's an improvement and not a repair, and I know we went through that previously. So, I think we're talking with him to make sure that that's feasible first. And then I think the pipe will come second with more in-depth study, if that makes sense.
Especially the town can provide funding, which we needed to, at the last meeting, we basically suggested to both the interested parties in the audience as well as make a note, I think it was in the minutes, that they talked to Dennis Brain and go to town to see DPW and so forth, to see a combination of the funding that would be required to do a proper engineering study, because as has been pointed out by commission members during the previous hearings, we want to make sure it's done right, and we also want to make sure that the other sources of water are not just that one pipe from the town that's causing all this. The question I have for you now, Rob, is, so if they're going to use the lower level outlet and permanently run to that, does that mean that he'll have enough water irrigation in the middle of the summer when there's not a lot of rainfall, or he'd want to put the boards back in and build it back up, or not put the boards back in, but revert to a higher level?
Yeah, that's where we're gonna discuss them, because there is a good chance that if it did come down to a dry spell, that you could put the boards back in, and I think there's multiple pumps there. So that's where this discussion is basically leading to.
So potentially, if it was, potentially if it was dry time and they had to put them back in, then the surrounding flooding probably wouldn't be a problem at that point. That probably would have dried out at that point. So
Exactly.
those two things.
As long as he's willing to keep an eye on and help balance that, if we can get some sort of commitment to him as a property owner and the person on the site all the time, so it's not just up to the abutters who are being affected to say, hey, we're starting to get flooding again in our yard, we've had combined rainstorms, where are the boards or what's going on with that, but he's maintaining what he needs for irrigation, as he has the right to do,
Sure.
and still balancing that of, like, oh, we've had a couple of rainstorms, I should maybe go check the pond and check the levels to make sure that we're not getting a backing up problem.
Yeah.
And that would be at least an interim compromise that would allow us to move forward with things that potentially down the road, we could lead to better study and understanding what's the overall best solution in dealing with this down the road, and still provide some hopefully immediate relief on a consistent basis, not just once in a while, to the people that are negatively affected by this and whose properties are impacted.
The control sleuth with the boards, is that on the upper level or the lower level?
It's on the upper level.
But you're talking about rerouting it somehow to the lower level once the board.
So it all
If
drains
you open it, do you
over.
not overpower the lower level?
What was that? Sorry.
If you open the upper sleuth,
Yep.
the boards, the
Yeah.
upper level, do you not now overpower the lower level?
No, because it will equilibrate essentially. It will overpower it initially, but then that's how, the gate works, is you open it up and then it kind of trickles into.
I thought it was just a series of boards, you just took out one board, two board, three boards, and that's how he lowers the level of the pond, but it was just
That is.
overflowing now.
Yep,
Well, what's this?
Same as we do with Silver Lake.
Right.
yeah,
So if he's just basically permanently taking out a couple of boards, more or less permanently, unless it's really drought. That's such, you're talking about a sluice or relocating to the lower level, you're basically just talking about removing boards, not like there's a pipe system that goes out to the bottom of the dam that's being affected.
correct. Yeah, there wouldn't be any construction of any pipes or anything. It'd be removing the boards and then there's a pump in that top. It's like a pool. It would just be put on the lower one, but
So-
that's movable.
So he
The
drove
balance-
below. Essentially.
Correct.
So
So
the
the
pump to
order-
pump out for irrigation, not
Right.
pumping downstream,
No,
that
no.
wasn't made clear in the beginning, you just said.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Yep.
So you can still get pumping water out of the lower level to irrigate, gotcha, that makes a whole much more.
So to maintain a balance between the two levels, the owner has to actively manage the sluice boards.
Correct, which he's doing currently. That's why, when it gets inundated, that's where the boards start getting removed.
All right.
So,
As part of the process, I would suggest that perhaps we provide the abutters who are most affected by this with an agreed upon, because I don't want to impose upon Mr. Wagner or DPW, but a way of communicating if there appears to be some difficulties or problems on their end, so that they can be proactive about it, maybe just alert somebody who's away on vacation or whatever, that, hey, you need to check the situation out. If you could explore that as you continue to explore that, Rob.
Sure,
And then
yeah.
communicate back with us and we can relay that information or the applicant or that others can reach out to us and say, is there a method of communication if there's an issue? And also they can report that it's being successful. I mean, I'd
Yeah.
love to hear that it's working great even after some heavy rainstorms. And that problem, at least temporarily, with a long-term solution being still hopefully worked on.
sure.
reached.
because what I was going to recommend, if the commission's comfortable with it, would be to keep this open for at least one more meeting, so we can get.
Oh, we'll keep it open as long as we need to.
Yeah, I just don't want to inundate your agenda with, it's nice to close some things out.
Oh, yeah,
So
no.
if we have to withdraw and come back with a new application with the actual study.
Aren't we
Oh, yeah.
still
Yeah.
debating the limits of our authority here?
I'm trying to kind of make it so we have a solution that doesn't involve,
A non-jurisdictional solution
Yeah,
would be
so,
optimal.
So if the resolution could be reached, then Steve, I think your answer would be that we all decide we don't need to be involved.
Which-
That's the best
And they
solution.
just withdraw without prejudice.
and it would be a temporary solution while we work on the actual while we're monitoring with this approach.
Looking for funding for engineering, just scouting the scope of the engineering, what do you get out of it and so forth.
Yeah, at some point, this will be possibly withdrawn and refiled. So
Right. That sounds fine.
Yeah.
That's just an administrative exercise.
Ariane or Noel, any chance to, or is your opportunity to interject, ask questions, anything? Speak now or,
I'm good.
okay.
Rob, I got a question, relative to size.
Mhm.
The upper slope, the upper area versus the lower area, how big is that lower area?
They're about the same
They're about- okay,
size.
so,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's a pool.
Like,
essentially.
yeah, almost the size of this.
Yeah,
space.
actually, yeah, that's right. You were out there.
Yeah, I've been out there.
So are we making a motion to continue to the 24th?
I'm open to accepting a motion to continue this hearing keep it open until the 24th of July at 7 P.M.
So moved.
I'll
So that's
second it.
2 weeks out, that's 2 meetings out, not 20, so
Yep.
that gives more, even more time.
I like that.
So when?
The 24th at 7 P.M. So I heard somebody not.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Oh, I'm just accepting a motion. I didn't.
Oh,
So moved.
Steve,
Steve
Steve and then
did.
Don, thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that. Thanks. That's good. Online, Ariane,
Aye.
Noel,
I,
James,
Aye.
Mike, aye. Neil,
Aye.
Steve, thank you. And Don, aye. Unanimous vote. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so we'll now move along and I see Mr. Collins and you, David
Yes.
Leonard. How do you say that, there, David?
It's Clennert.
Thank you.
Yep.
So we'll, the opening, the next item on the agenda is 64 Fox Run Road, continued notice of intent for a septic replacement. Shannon Blaney is the applicant of 64 Fox Run Road, and George R. Collins Engineering is the representative, but tonight we have David Leonard. And David, would you like to provide an update on this?
Sure. At the last meeting, as you can, if you can recall, we did not have Board of Health approval or a DEP file number. As of today, we do have Board of Health approval and we just received the DEP file number CE 1050969. We did go over the plan at the last meeting. I can go over it again if you'd like.
Let me ask the members of the commission if they do need that to have a review of the septic system replacement portion of the project. There was one additional question that was asked by Neil and we have an answer for that.
The only burning question was probably Neil's, and what is the status of the pool?
So. You want to answer that, David?
Permitting.
The permitting, well, are they looking for a new permit for the pool, or were we just questioning how?
No, we're just questioning.
Yeah, there was an attachment which I did see in an email that some of the members may not have gotten or seen,
No.
which,
everyone got.
oh, okay. So
Was
it
there
may
a
not
permit for building the pool in the buffer zone?
It was a permit to
replace
replace
an
the,
existing pool in 2017 signed off on by Tim. Building department up for an existing locate, the same location, another pool in 2017. I don't know when that previous pool was put in, nobody may know, I don't know, but. So it wasn't a new pool being put in there. It was already disturbed area and Tim probably felt didn't need to come to us, even though it was within.
He
20
should have.
He probably should have, but at this point in time, it's,
No, he should have.
yeah, I'm not probably right. He should have.
Yeah,
But
that's not
it's-
probably.
I would say water in the bridge, water in the pool.
Well, yeah, water in the pool.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, water under the pool.
So let me ask back to the original question that was phrased here. Does anyone on the con want to hear the review of the septic plan replacement, or do we feel comfortable that it was presented in enough detail last time? Nothing has changed on that.
That is correct. Nothing has changed.
What kind of waivers did you request and or get from the Board of Health?
There was only one waiver. It was for a sieve analysis. The soils were a bit wet. So we did a sieve analysis. Based on the sieve analysis, we had 72.5% sand. It was a pretty nice area for a septic system.
Great, thank you.
Noel or Ariane, any questions?
No questions for me.
Okay,
Nay.
okay,
Anything specific for order conditions?
anything specific? Just, I think is the site fairly flat? I can't remember that part, but I think it was not particularly steep graded.
It drops off a bit, from 50 down to, it starts at 53 and drops down to 250. So 253 to 250. It's fairly flat. It's.
I think the usual about siltation,
Yeah, siltation.
material storage, you know.
Everything
that-
coming
Well,
off,
the storage, wasn't that one of the things?
yeah, the
Yeah,
site,
they're gonna live.
I think that was right, live loading is coming off site, it's a small lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
And do we need to badge or any fencing going across the back of the site? Is this a time when we sometimes ask for that?
I mean, do you have the site plan right there that you could share?
yes, I do.
We can just look at it real
Just
quick.
especially focused on the backside where the resource areas and whether how close the lines are to that 25 foot.
Had anybody been out to look at the site?
I haven't.
It's a grass site. It's all previously disturbed.
No, just
Everything
at the
will be
back
within
end,
the
at the
lawn.
back end is they're dumping, you know.
Yeah.
Can we?
Where the 25 foot line, when you're ready to share, let us know so we can do that.
Okay, yeah,
I just gave you access.
Okay, share. All right. Let me know if you can see the,
Worth it? We're not gonna not see it. Okay, so yeah, they're looking for the 25 foot line. Is that the?
this is the 25-foot line here in gray.
Okay. And then it's wooded. How close is the wooded area? It says wooded right in between 25 and the green resource area line. How
Oh.
wooded is it up to the 25 foot? Is it woods right up to the 25 foot or is that?
No, there is, yeah, it's wooded here. There is lawn area on the fence side. So you see this fence,
Yeah.
that fence right here?
Oh,
That's
yeah,
the
yeah.
Existing fence line. Okay, gotcha. I was
That-
wondering.
okay.
That's
I was
all,
wondering
that's
if
all
those are
previously
posted.
disturbed lawn area.
Yep, so
So,
it's all undisturbed behind the fence?
It's wooded behind the fence, yeah.
Oh, okay.
what type of fence is it?
I think it's like a chain link fence. It's like a 4-foot, chain link,
Okay.
type of fence.
I was thinking like if it was wooded, you could just add.
I think that if the applicant would be willing to, and you guys would take care of this, we would love it if we provide some nice free badges and just put them right on that existing fence line. Wherever every, 2 or 3 of them along that back area, especially in the area, the vicinity of the pool and stuff, just so the stuff, since you're so close to the existing resource area, that just.
Type of
just say-
conservation post,
Beg pardon?
a type of conservation post, are you talking about?
It's not posting, it's the badges. We have.
Okay, the
these-
badges, yep,
Yeah, the
yep.
restriction badge. You may have been familiar with them.
Yeah, just attach them to the existing fence or the existing fence poles with screws or
Sure, absolutely.
wire ties or
Just-
something.
Just make sure that way future property owners and the current ones know that nothing should go beyond that point as far as leaves dumpings and so forth, especially if the woods are close and it's sometimes tempting to just think you're adding to some tree leaves and so forth, or clippings of grass and things. But
Yeah.
that's a no beyond that. Pretty close to beyond that point since the lines are so close.
Like 3 or 4 maybe?
Yeah, 3 or 4 probably.
Yeah, it's
Scattered along there, spaced out.
Okay.
I think it'll be fine. All right, any other questions or points? Okay. I'll call for a vote to close this and issue an order of conditions, which can be arranged to be picked up, David, through Hannah. You reach out to her, she can let you know when it'll be ready. Zoom call, Noel,
Aye. Wait,
yeah.
did anyone second or move?
oh, that's true, I'm accepting a motion to.
Second.
Oh.
Okay, Ariana seconded, okay.
You
Noel,
moved it.
Noel, were you moving it as you were saying that? I think, yes?
I'd just like my roll call vote to be included.
Okay, so we would like a first before we have Noel's roll call since you, okay. James is first, Ariana is second again. Noel, you'd like to say yours again, please? So that you're doing the right order.
Aye.
Thank you, it's my mistake. Ariane,
Aye.
Mike, I online, I'm present. James?
Aye.
Neil? Aye. Not used to being as present thing. Steve? And Donna, thank you. Unanimous vote. Thank you very much. All right, thank you, David.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you.
You too. Thank you very much. Flying along here.
Good night, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank you. Let me just ask if people that are currently in the room that are here for, are you here for the Blackstone and North project?
Yeah, I'm not.
You're not.
No,
I-
you're
Oh,
talking
you
to
are.
the
I thought
applicant.
you said you are, and then
He's
that's
the
like
representative.
Bellston.
yeah, okay, okay, gotcha. Okay, so we will be moving along to the next item and
The Bellstones.
The Bellstone.
And that is a continued hearing for notice of intent for Blackstone and North Streets, 12 3-unit townhouse buildings. From Water Management System, John Mission is the applicant, from Raven Homes, and Ryan Racine from Valley Consulting is here tonight to provide us with some information and to discuss a couple of points.
I'm hoping also the email you gave to me, you'll explain that,
Yeah.
your response. Cool.
Okay, so why don't you give a quick recap of where you're at there, Ryan?
Yeah, sure thing. So for the record, Brian Rosine with Gallagher Consulting here on behalf of the applicant. So I think at the last meeting I had indicated that, so planning board has given approval. They voted to approve the plan on April 25th. That decision has since been recorded at the registry of deeds. And the plan set has been dropped off to the planning board yesterday by the engineer to get the signatures and everything. There were no changes to the plan. The only thing the engineer added was a note on the front of the cover sheet there saying, the planning board voted to, approve the plan. So that was the only change. So this is the current plan. This is the one that we had. It's the one revised through February 9th of this year, I believe. So for MIPA, I'm expecting to get the new certificate for the notice of project change in the coming days, maybe early next week. We've submitted some of the materials for the CMP amendment, but Natural Heritage will not start reviewing that until the MIPA process is done. And Hannah had asked me the question of the DEP original comment on the filing was, making sure that first of all, making sure, all the materials were submitted to Natural Heritage to get the project approved. In addition to that, they had indicated to the commission as well as myself that you guys should hold off on issuing an order of conditions until Natural Heritage is all set, and that you guys incorporate any conditions that they have for the project, which would be in the CMP,
Which stands for.
the Conservation Management Plan.
Ah,
See,
CMP,
when I
well,
see an acronym for the first time, and I don't see it explaining
Oh,
it
yeah.
across the text or emails, I'm like, I could.
Oh, yeah.
They Googling it, but you know what? I'll just ask the person to put it in there. What
Yeah.
CNP stood for.
yeah, it's the large permit for MISA, for Massachusetts Endangered Species Act. So that's the permit that, because we got the take for the Eastern Box Turtle, then you have to do the conservation management permit. So I had asked Hannah if the commission would be open to, just to keep this moving, to put in a special condition, be able to close this before Natural Heritage is done and just put in a special condition saying, the applicant, the proponent has to abide by any and all conditions stated in the conservation management permit issued by Natural Heritage. Because the Natural Heritage stuff probably won't be done for another 30 days approximately. So that's where we sort of stand right now.
There was an additional point, and I can't find the printout that I had brought with me. The rest of that DEP comment referred to the NOI. Do you have that handy? Then you can read that section. There's like one sentence that you covered part of the DEP's comment
Yeah,
they
maybe
handed for it too, but there was
it was
a point about them. I thought it was saying basically that you guys should be submitting a new NOI based on what it didn't say in that brief
Oh, I
comment.
think, so that was referring back to, so there was the previous NOI for the 4 single-family homes,
Right.
years and years ago. I think that comment referred to is this project, well, when it was the 12 units, was so much different than the previous one that we have to file a new NOI, which is the one that we currently have. And we closed out that previous order of conditions for that one house that was in the buffer zone, with a certificate of compliance back in 2022, when this was first filed. We also filed for a COC saying, no work was done, nothing's happening with this, just to close it out, get it off the record.
Yeah.
So that's what that comment.
That's why I was kind of surprised to see that suddenly out of nowhere, DEP is saying something about a new NOI, and they didn't reference anything about, because of the previous 4-family home thing and the dates and so forth.
No, it seemed like they were referencing the original townhouse plan.
Right, and switching from the
Like a year
12
ago.
to the 5, which is what it currently is, townhouses instead of the 12. And I'm like, I was looking for a change between the 12 to the 5, but there's never been a new NOI just for the 5. It's
Right,
just
yeah, it's been the
12.
same one, it's just changed, the plans have changed, you know.
Plans have changed, which I've been told.
But we're not sure if they're speaking about your scenario or a scenario where the project has changed
Right.
so significantly
Because
from
that-
its original.
I guess we could find out, because that comment was posted
Yeah, it wasn't.
when
sent
this,
to
when
us.
this was originally filed,
Yeah,
is what I'm assuming.
it was posted, but we weren't even sure when it was posted. Hannah was trying to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
sort
there's
that
no
out.
like.
Yeah, there's no
timestamp,
date, yeah, they don't give a
but
date, but it-
Generally, the comment
And
comes
I
out
feel
if
more
they have a date.
clarification.
Talking to Hannah about this earlier, I said that we need to, I think, make sure all the ducks are in order, that we get DEP, to clarify something that's very vague and not helpful.
Well, I think their statement is clear. It doesn't.
Say which
meet-
NOI.
The previous doesn't meet the current requirements and start over.
Right, but the previous that Ryan is referring to, he believes is the 4 single-family homes, and they did start over again with a 12. The question we're having is,
We just
they
need
mean 12 to
clarification.
5. We just need clarification. Now, here's the catch. DEP has taken our circuit rider, who did we go to with this at first, promoted that person to Boston. We have a temporary interim circuit rider who is, I'm sure, swamp covering other areas too, as it probably is their role. She's already reached out to them to start getting this information and making sure we're on board with that. And we're correct. I mean, we're not stonewalling the process. We just want to make sure it's done properly. We don't approve something and then find out, oh no, DEP is going to sit on this.
Pull the rug out from under.
Pull it out.
Exactly.
So
And
just
we're-
to clarify, are we saying you would like DEP to know this downgrade before and their comment to that?
What is their comment? Is their comment about the previous?
Yes.
12
Or is it about
12
It's about
townhouses or 5 townhouses?
it should be about what I'm,
Right.
what I'm expecting is,
What he's
and what I believe is it's referring to
Right,
the previous project, which was, it was just for one of the single family homes, because it was a driveway that went up alongside the
Right.
wetland where the
Yeah.
current plan shows the stormwater basin. And that's, I believe we had talked about this, and this was when, you know, previously when Cliff and Ann were here, I think this was brought up by them, you know, back when we first filed this. But we can, I mean, there's no issue with sort of, you know, just clarifying this, but
The second.
what I understand is.
because it would be, we don't want to unnecessarily burden you with like having to refile for some.
Yeah, no, yeah, because I don't think, because for something like this, where plans just change in the middle of a public hearing, that doesn't really need a new file.
We've been proceeding based on the assumption that that is correct, because I asked that question a while back. Hey, it's not 12 anymore. It keeps referring to the 12 family single families. It still does in the current agenda. You know, that's what, should it be changed to 5 or do they have to refile? And I was told they don't need to refile. They can be changed, as you just basically said.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt to get this go to DP. The other thing is what you just mentioned, if we were willing to do this modification, this is the first time we've had a chance to hear that request in a short period of time. I'd like to just make sure that both the commission and this would be a great precedent for the circuit rider, if there's any issues that they would see, having not to my knowledge ever done what you're requesting again. Before, rather, not again. So again, that's another DEP question that we will tailor to getting those answers as fast as we can. I think that, the other big 2 chunks of information are the general conditions and the conservation restriction, which I had to reprint, Hannah sent to me because I had started going through it when it was in the portal, but got locked out before I printed it out. So I have not completely looked over the conservation restriction. I'm actually starting to compare it to another project we're doing conservation restriction on, because this does say right at the top. It's a MADFW and NASA conservation restriction, like draft.
Yeah,
document,
yeah,
boilerplate
it's
document, which you
exactly-
have amended heavily.
Yeah.
And which I encourage all the Concom members who have not had a chance to, I've asked Hannah to forward those along to everybody, along with the other 217 Parker project and the other projects that are held up in the portal that may be important for people to continue to have access to. So encourage you all to look those. I've made some comments and notes. What does the BWPB stand for? Bellingham Wetlands Planning Board? No, there's a W in there. This is referring to the interest protected by the WPA or the BWPB. May require the filing of new notice 610.
Yeah, Bellingham.
That's our bylaw.
Oh, bylaw. I was thinking planning board when I saw it. I think.
TV, yeah.
Yeah, I just, again, being an acronym and sometimes.
Don't put that on us.
No. And then just to be clear on the timing for these, both the pre-construction meeting and the prior to pre-construction meeting, getting the sediment and erosion control plans, you're looking at an 8-week lead time to be on the calendar, just so the board members are aware of that too. Because you need to be 4 weeks prior to the required pre-construction meeting, you have to have the sediment and erosion control plan, have that in place. And so that's have to happen like 8 weeks before you start construction, because then the, says in the pre-construction conditions, that conference has to happen 4 weeks before the commencement of the project. So you got a 4 on top of the 4, and that's correct, is that right?
I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to.
No,
on that.
I,
I
we.
haven't.
Oh, sorry, these
So
are
he
the
has
general
to-
conditions, you haven't seen these yet.
Right, yeah, yes.
So I should turn my head
Quizzing
like
you.
Hannah, that's the, you're on.
That's what it currently
It looks like,
says,
so just as like an 8
can be changed.
Is that standard for 4 weeks after?
We've done it on other ones, but it's all up to you guys.
This is,
Say,
this
like,
is,
assuming a pre-construction walk at the end of it, everyone's hunky dory. Why make them wait a month?
well, it's the meetings, it's not even the walkthrough, it's just that there's gotta be a pre-construction meeting 4 weeks before the commencement of the start of the work, and then 4 weeks before that. Right now, the way it's in special conditions. They're supposed to have a sediment erosion control portion of the meeting. Right. Which just focuses on that, make sure we have all plans in place.
This
Well,
isn't
that's
a site,
what-
this isn't a site walk, this is.
No, these are just
Oh,
meetings,
all right.
2 meetings.
Yeah.
These are the meetings, which, again, if the commission wants to make some changes to these general conditions, this
Yeah.
is the time as we're reviewing these to do that, and if you feel you want to shorten it, or make some other amendments.
Or have that in the
I just
same,
pointed that out because I caught my eye and I was like, oh yeah, 4 weeks and then 4, I'll take. That's a long time, I agree. And the other question was, did we require fencing, item 54 on this again, order of conditions you've not seen yet. It says fencing, if required, and this is a general thing which may be amenable. At the 25-foot no disturb boundary, they should provide a minimum of 6-inch clearance between fence bottom, if required. Did we require a fence along the 25-foot?
I don't, there's not a fence proposed.
I didn't remember seeing one on the plan.
The only thing on there's a fence proposed at the top of the stormwater basin. But there's no fence surrounding, the property. There will be the conservation restriction signs, but no fence.
Right, and how are those conservation restriction signs planned on being put out there?
So they're just T-posts in the ground. Yeah,
There's probably gonna be 6-inch clearance on the fence around the basin.
Yeah,
We
probably.
usually do that as well.
We require that.
Just for migration, yeah,
Decisions.
just for critters going.
Because there was a very
you
interesting
know,
comment.
it's already in, it's in it for sure.
Yeah, that's a general condition that we have,
Okay,
so.
so do you want me to add that then, if it's already in there? Sorry. Right there.
There was a comment about.
Double check that that's, yeah, because we just want to leave, so
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Turtle.
our little woodland creatures can
And on
do
the,
their thing.
during construction conditions, the post-construction conditions, item number 58 caught my eye, which I don't think I've noticed before, never seen. To avoid potential creep of landscape management into regulated buffer zones and or resource areas beyond what is approved as part of this order. Granite or similar post markings shall be placed at the limit of managed landscaped areas based on as-built plan prepared for all construction. So you've got that identified already on the plans, correct, Ryan? Where the landscaping management portion of the property around the back sides of these townhouses, I'm assuming.
yeah, it's basically gonna be the conservation restriction,
Up to the conservation.
up to
restriction.
those conservation restriction
Okay.
signs.
Do you know if you planned on putting anything to other, for the landscapers? I guess this is basically how to control the landscapers from just continuing to mow further and further out when there's no signs or there's only scattered signs and they're mowing between them carefully to get out further, because there's a couple trees that aren't too close. I like that thought because there probably will be a homeowners association or something associated with this, as opposed to an individual property owner who can just tell not to have that and have them in the right conditions, and how that information gets relayed to future, I put HOAs in the future, along with the stormwater structures, maintenance and so forth, as opposed to individuals or a.
No, it becomes a responsibility of the HOA.
Yeah, assuming it becomes an HOA.
It's a condo development. There will be an HOA.
Okay.
No, there will be.
So
It will be an
there'll
HOA.
be an entity, I'm saying.
There will be
Entity will exist
there
somewhere.
will be a homeowners association. It's,
Okay.
it's
I don't remember-
required by
I
law.
don't remember seeing the landscape creep. I love the words, landscape creep, potential creep in landscape management, because that could.
Yeah, another 6 inches this year and
We
another.
usually
foot
think about
next
with
year.
snow plowing, don't push it piles too far back, but when it comes to mowing,
We mow a little further every time we mow.
It's that wording originally, but last fall when we had the solar site where they mowed the wetland
Right.
completely. So that's where that kind of comes from, that idea.
And in
And
this
if there's not gonna
particular
be a
case,
fence,
in this particular case, the less maintenance they do in the backside of over towards the resource areas where there are potentially a lot of black turtles, or maybe no. But mower running along there, one of these big top mowers is not gonna be good news for a turtle count. Anyway, okay, so again, just a couple observations I thought I'd bring up since we have this on the plate right now, and,
No, it was mentioned there's no fence around the property. What will the turtle barrier be made of?
oh,
During construction? The turtle barrier during construction?
post-construction, there's no turtle barrier.
Yeah, so during construction, just prior to the construction, a temporary turtle barrier fence, which is just an entrenched silt fence, will be installed at the limit of work. And then that stays up through construction, and then once all construction is complete, we take that down, and then there's no fence.
And I did pretty thoroughly read through that turtle protection plan that's provided by
It was interesting.
NHB. It's very thorough. The one condition that we're gonna have to make sure it comes up during the construction meetings is that the gate, there's only one place that they can get in and out, and that's the.
Can we put signs there that say turtles enter this way?
Yeah, and the driveway that they're gonna go in to do the construction every day has to have a barrier put down in place every night, and that's gonna have to be written in these order conditions that somebody is designated by the contractor to make sure that happens every night, because other than the neighbors watching across the street, we wouldn't know. And that then potentially opens them up, the developer, if that's discovered and reported as it's supposed to be, if there's a gap in the barrier or the gate's left up, to the turtle biologist, and they may have to stop the project until the sweep is made of the interior because it's been opened up for. So it's in the developer's best interest too, but just to make sure that there's a sign to somebody, so somebody can be called quickly, hey, everybody's left the site. Somebody in the neighborhood just said the gate's left up, somebody messed up, you better get back there, otherwise you're gonna be potentially a problem. Anyway, that's something that can happen down the road.
so the condition where the contractor has to have, the wetlands expert situation.
Yeah.
Do you want me to add that they need to have experience with turtles or working with endangered species or anything like that? 'Cause right now it's just the wetland scientist.
In our order of conditions, yeah, I think I mentioned to Hannah that while it does call out that the general contractor shall hire independent contractors and subcontractors, including an engineer licensed to oversee construction based job and a professional wetland scientist and or individual who is certified for sediment erosion specialist, that doesn't indicate anything about turtle biologists, really.
Yeah, the turtle protection plan references the
Right,
turtle biologist,
Absolutely, so you have to have one.
so I would maybe, include that in.
We'll
the special
include that and
condition.
just mention that has to be a turtle biologist also.
Say a wildlife
approved
biologist as
by-
approved by Natural Heritage.
National Heritage, I think that would cover.
And that would be us, we would at Goddard, so myself is approved by Natural Heritage on many other projects, so we would be the ones doing the turtle sweeps beforehand, we do regular inspections of the fence. You know, if anything comes up, we would kind of take care of the turtle related issues that come up.
Yeah, of course, my point was after everything is done and the homeowners are living in there and so forth. Good luck, turtles.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been a piece of cake on across Blackstone Street too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Wherever
I've
they're
gotten
migrating
calls
from
about
it too.
I think one of the last conditions I wanted people to look at, because I did make it up, or I've never seen it on a previous one. I wrote the words, is about adding turtle signage post-construction. So that people know there's a reason why there's conservation restriction here. Don't drive over a turtle.
Turtle educational sort of
Yeah,
type
yeah.
signage.
I don't know if you guys have ever done anything like that in the past.
No, it's a good idea though.
Yeah, I like.
We
So I
probably
think
haven't had many
that
areas where
the-
we've known there's been protected species. Good, who was that, Ariane?
Yeah, so I think the reason that we have to like submit a request to Natural Heritage sometimes to get species identifications is because they want to keep those species sort of secret, not like, like hidden away, but to prevent people from purposely poaching them or harassing them in other ways. So I don't know if like identifying the turtles there is.
So you would,
Right,
but even just like a sign that's like,
wildlife
Just a turtle.
crossing.
It could be
Yeah, or
generic.
wild-
I see turtle crossing signs.
Yeah,
I've
you can
seen
put turtle
many-
crossing sign
Yeah,
or something
if
like
somebody
that,
Charles
generic,
River-
not to mention
is
that
that
they're.
something that you've experienced in the past that's been on a condition?
What, having like turtle signs or like
Or
things like.
crossing or wildlife crossing?
I've seen other projects that require like general like wildlife crossings or turtle crossings, but not specifically calling out this exact species like.
No,
this
but I
is-
was thinking we're
That's fine.
discussing, I think,
Yeah.
more generic turtle
Yeah, I
crossing
think-
signs,
yeah,
something
It's
like
like
that.
two-way signs right at the end of each end of the property, woods line, you know, the right by the detention basin on the right side, and then wherever the property line looks like it's a good spot along that further side. So people coming both directions might slow down a little bit. It's the only open section of road on Blackstone, and otherwise it's a very narrow road that people go way too fast on. And, I know, because I've gone down it hundreds of times myself, not too fast. I swerved and avoided a turtle once not too long ago, which I,
Drifted, you drifted.
Under the speed limit.
no, I was actually wasn't driving, but I spotted the turtle. Okay.
Okay, so just to follow up,
Yes,
you
relevant
had,
questions, Brad.
you had mentioned earlier, I'm curious about what's the signage that says conservation land that's gonna be behind the condominiums? We close that out?
The conservation restriction,
Yeah.
that signage?
Yeah, so that signage is, it's standard format provided by, the state. It basically says, conservation restriction area, it says MGL chapter, I forget the exact
Yep.
reference to that. And it's basically, it have to all be a certain size, spaced out evenly. I don't think you guys have it, but there is the conservation restriction plan. I don't think I've submitted that to you. I can send it to you guys. It has like the details right on it. And so that's part of,
Conservation restriction plan I just mentioned before, or a different one?
so the actual,
Yeah, the plan- oh, plan set,
the
not-
actual
not
like,
the
it's
narrative.
one
Okay,
sheet
gotcha,
that
gotcha.
shows, you know, the conservation restriction, it has the details of the signage, it has the locations of
That'd
the
be great to
signage
send
on
it.
it.
Yeah,
I
thank
can
you, because
send it.
I was trying to see that on what we
Oh, yeah,
have
yeah.
here, just to see, is it every
Yeah.
40 feet, is it every 100 feet? You know,
Yeah, I
wasn't
forget
sure.
exactly what we came up with, but the state usually says, at every corner,
Mhm.
and then, or at every, you know, if it was
Angle.
multiple, yeah, every angle and spaced 150 to 200 feet apart on straight areas, or at every lot line. So
Okay.
if you had like multiple lots, house lots, it would be
Right.
at every single lot corner, basically.
Okay,
But since this one is just one big property, it's basically at every corner and then spaced out. I think it's either 100 or, I forget the exact, it shows it on the plan, which I can send to you guys.
yeah, I'd like to see that, because
Yeah.
if we're concerned about, you know, about landscaping later on, clearing area. If you've got something that's 200 feet, I'm exaggerating here, but 200 feet apart, no landscape is gonna pay any attention to the straight line between those two signs. So if they're every 100 feet or 50 feet, something that actually helps
Yeah.
reinforce the need to protect that area from encroachment.
The last thing I want to do is impose upon a developer, they need to have a fence put around.
Right,
that perimeter. We haven't done that before, something like this, and I don't think we want to start.
I think Hannah's language about the two signs for endangered turtles is fine.
Thanks.
I think that should say.
If turtles is something that, National Heritage would allow / recommend, if they feel that it is actual, as risk as Ariane pointed out, we can confer with them, we can find out. But I think some sort of, at least wildlife crossing, some sort of, right on the street is something that's new and may catch a few people's eyes and save a few critters, and that's all for the good. So definitely move along with it. It says turtles. I don't want to lock us into turtles only, but
I can write wildlife and then if they're okay with it specifically being that turtle crossing sign that we all can.
You could change
envision.
turtles
Cool.
to animals.
yeah.
Okay.
I can also ask, the reviewer at Natural Heritage if, you know, if you guys are talking about something specific, saying, you know, protected species or something like that, I can ask them if they're okay with that. Or if they would rather just see a generic sort of wildlife or turtle crossing sign sort of thing. So,
Well, they have
How
to-
long is that, because you mentioned only two signs, is that enough?
That was kind of like my question to you guys.
Well, I think that the only place you really want to do it is along the road, and whether 2 or 3 along the road, it's a fairly long lot line, property line, but again, it's open.
On
so-
Blackstone or no?
On Blackstone. I wouldn't think that we would do it along that, because there's no access, you're going through
Right,
woods and people's properties.
I would think maybe perhaps putting one somewhere along Blackstone and then one as you enter into the, you know, as you turn into, you know, the
Because you want people
cul-de-sac.
being,
Enter in one,
Right.
like put one right on the right-hand side there and then one somewhere along Blackstone. Perhaps.
Well, as they're approaching the site, that I can say, well, I can't say it accurately. Both directions, they accelerate. They're accelerating because they're coming off of North Street, and it's a nice open stretch, and you can get up some speed before you have to slow down that curve around the
Yeah.
end of the property line, basically. Come the other way.
Right.
It has to be at least a little bit further down than right at the property line, because there's tree line.
one at each end and one at the entrance to
Yeah,
the
I think it's
development,
great,
so.
whatever. Okay. Ariane, Noel, that makes sense? You're hearing all that? Anything else you want to add?
Yep.
Okay.
Fine by me.
Okay, so, then we want to move to continue this.
I do want to speak to one point. I am uncomfortable with putting into our order that we're going to adhere to an order that we haven't cut.
That's perfectly fine. So then I guess in that case, we'll just,
I want to even get clarification if that's okay to do there, or whether, or if we can get an answer at the same time, because we already have one in with DEP for, they're clarifying what they've sent as a comment earlier. Asking that same question too. That was the kind of question I was asked to do. Are we okay with what you were proposing we do? We can answer that in the next 2 weeks, or if it has to go beyond that, we hopefully they'll respond to it.
Could you expand on the need for that? What is it you want to accomplish to push it through without it being finished?
just to keep the project moving, because MEP is almost done. You guys are, right at the finish line. Natural heritage is really the last thing to do. And as soon as we do that, that's a bit of a quicker turnaround time between when we get that permit and would be able to start, as opposed to getting a permit from you guys in order conditions and then turning that around to starting work. I don't know when the applicant is hoping to start work. I am assuming, later this summer, early fall. Because if not, if he doesn't start, before October 15th, he now has to wait potentially until April to start work.
You can't start till the orders and conditions are final, right?
Right, which is why we're hoping if we were able to close it earlier, then they would be final sooner and we can keep moving on. But if you guys are uncomfortable with that and you would like to wait,
I'm uncomfortable.
I think we
you
want a
would like
couple
to wait
questions.
until we get the amended CMP and natural heritage is completely done. And then we just come back to you as soon as we can right after that. Can you guys issue the order of conditions then we'll be okay with that as
I
well.
think if we get our 2 questions answered and those other things moved along in the meantime, then it avoids your need to ask us to do
Okay.
something that we may not be as comfortable with because we've never done it, or DEP comes back and says, we don't recommend you do that. We think that the applicant should, although it wants to move forward, wait until everything's been done.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine too. So I think that, hopefully maybe we'll get an answer in the next 2 weeks. We can certainly continue on if we have to go beyond that, but I'm hopeful that we get our answers and move along. So I would, unless there's additional questions for any members.
Just one, I want to make sure I'm reading this. The National Heritage Site allows non-intrusive recreation use of that property, correct? Based on what I'm reading in the conditions.
In the
Hiking.
conservation restriction.
Yeah, hiking.
Yeah.
Yeah, hiking, bird watching, nature viewing, photography, things like that, yes.
So there's no need along that western boundary for notification or.
North Street side of the property. Yeah, parallels North Street side. Of the property.
Yeah, yes, to advise, because there's a fair amount of families
A
there,
couple homes along that road, yeah.
to just educate them that, listen, you're tread carefully in there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
These signs that we've mentioned were basically on the road, but what about the separation between the residence property and the National Heritage property?
Well, they butt right back up unless the property owner has been diligent in surveying the property and marking their own property line. They probably have no idea where one.
What's the standard there? Because that's a fairly
There isn't one.
long point of access, and I can imagine, as I would, living there,
Mhm.
go enjoy the woods.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons people buy property that backs up to conservation restricted property if they know it ahead of time.
And as long as you're not doing it with an ATV.
They have the right to do it. I didn't.
And
Short of-
permanently scarring the land.
Yeah, in this case, I think short of actually reaching out to the homeowners along that street and just sending them a little informational email notice or something like that, a printed 1 page, this is what's happened behind your properties, customized for them, letting them know, this is, got protected species back there and, it's conservation restricted. We've had at least one abutter be here at the meeting asking us a couple times about that, one of those people.
There's only 3 or 4 homes.
So maybe we could make a note of the property addresses down the road, Steve, and you think that would address it?
Sometimes the signs are as intrusive as the people.
Right, and then putting signs in the thickly wooded area, even facing towards the houses, if we determined where the property line was and the conservation restriction was started, that would be thick, it looks pretty thick wooded. How effective would the signage be? I mean, they might note it and they might not.
We don't have these drawings up, do we?
At the moment, no. I don't know if they're accessible.
Oh.
That's all right.
All right. Well, I mean, we have plans right there, if you wanna see something on
I mean, I
paper.
can pull it up if there's something specific you wanna point out.
I don't know if they show the houses along that side, if they go over that far.
Is that a single plan?
No, it's the full plan set.
Anything that just shows the property sign on the line on the western side?
You do get to use those plans. Not brought them for
I
now.
know, I didn't, I saw them a couple times.
When
Here, let
maybe
me
a project like this
show you.
starts or plans to start, do they have to tell the abutters like we're gonna start or do they just?
Actually, start with work.
Yeah.
Into the fire, notify them.
Okay.
First thing you'll know, there's some things. Okay,
They've been
Along
notified.
this line that I'm thinking
oh, that line, interior, I thought you were going for the far side line.
of, as people migrate from their property into the national heritage.
Yeah, so there will be conservation restriction signs along here.
Okay.
So that's that conservation restriction sheet plan that I'm gonna send to you guys that I was talking about.
Oh, we thought you were talking on the other side.
Put it
Steve.
back up, Steve.
Yeah, I thought you were talking
We
about
thought
that.
Everybody get what you were talking about, the 3 or 4 houses along north.
Oh, no, we thought you were talking
I
about.
think they were-
Yeah, we
Yeah,
talked
we
about
talked about
that line there in the woods and so forth.
Yeah, so there will be conservation restriction signs, like there really one here, there at every corner, and then kind of spaced in between here, like all along this line, basically.
This intrusion has been happening for a long time, if there is any.
Intrusion.
And there will actually be conservation restriction signs, if I'm correct, because this is all conservation, there will be ones along here as well. So there actually will be conservation restriction signs all along here. They won't be put in the
Go around to
wetlands,
the right side of the
They'll
tree.
go
maybe,
along here
so
as
they're
well.
facing out.
Okay.
That's great. Well, that's the way they're coming
and
in.
I'll send you guys that plan so you can see it.
Well, no,
They'd be walking in, yeah, they'd be facing out,
Yeah.
they'd be facing out. From the property.
So conservation
What
restriction
would,
signs
what
would be
would be
20.
this, what would be the point?
Yeah, well, in this particular case, we've got cleared areas on both.
They've
Well,
already
but
gone in. Oh, oops.
Okay.
Find out on your way out. Conservation.
Oh, that was a mine?
I put
Oh,
those 2
those
turtles
should be
back
words
down. I can't take them. Yeah, okay. All right, any other questions relevant or otherwise? Okay, I will accept a motion to continue this hearing to the evening of, the right page here, let's read up, the July 10th at 7 PM.
Do we think we're gonna have additional information?
I
by
think
then?
I think the applicant would love to have that put on, put off again if we need to. Maybe make some
Yeah,
progress.
we can continue if we don't have any
The
answers.
agenda's not too full for time, right? Henry?
We just have 217 and Prospect.
Yeah, so we'll try to put you guys on first if it looks like we got something quick to do, so you're not sitting here for 2. We'll probably do
Yeah.
something.
And 1052 South Main.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
No, that's.
Nope,
No,
that's a
we did
month.
that for 20 months.
Oh, we did that at 24th, right?
You could
Okay,
definitely.
so I'm
the other
open
stuff.
for a motion, having not done one, I'm not gonna ask for a
Yeah.
vote yet. I heard my list after the last one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
James first,
Seconded.
Don second, thank you. Ariane,
Aye.
Noel,
Aye.
James.
Aye.
Mike, aye. Neil.
Aye.
Aye. Steve, thanks. Don,
Aye.
unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Good night.
You too.
So moving right along here. Okay, we have 2 items for other business. Before I forget, I'm just gonna for briefly try these information, so I don't forget after that. We cover those 2. There are some concerns with the applicant not here. I'm going to state, break the record, so I don't violate any open meeting rules. I'm not to discuss the project that we're talking about, but the new project that's coming up is called the Village, what is it?
Prospect Hill Village.
Prospect Hill Village. There are a number of legal and potentially Concom issues with this project, and we mentioned them at the last meeting, so I'll mention that again. That's not filing it, you know, that there was more than one notice of intent intended to be filed with this project, according to the applicant. I expressed some concerns about that at the time. We haven't finished looking into that, just pointing of information, letting you know we're going to be looking into that, both from legal as well as getting the circuit rider, if you can get involved to find out if this is legit, because I don't want to go down this road with 2 potential NOIs to find out that not only there are issues with the potential of the sewer NOI, but other things. So I'm just letting you know that we are going to continue this. I ask that when Hannah forwards that information to you, continue to look at the stuff of the project that's been submitted already by the applicant, because there's a lot of it. And so if we've already started that process, that information won't be wasted to be reviewed. no matter what happens, but we need to get some questions answered. And when the applicant is here on the tenth, we will review these concerns and whatever information we've garnered from our resources on our side of things as to whether we should proceed in a different way with this project, back things up, change things.
Who is the applicant?
This is Lou Petrosi project. Okay, so just that was a point of information. We're not discussing any more because that would be a violation of the applicant not here. And so I just inform you all. Now, we do have two other items of the business and then anything else that any non member has. One is 179 we found on the record, which was
That is the tree.
a tree that is dead and leaning over a shed from a Concom wetlands area over a developed lawn area, shed area. Concerns about child safety in the back, the shed potentially being hit, which it looked like it would be if the dead tree comes down or parts of it come down. The applicant had received information, I guess is a better way to say, from a tree removal botanist, arborist brand potentially, but at least a tree removal company who proposed removing the tree in a minimally invasive way. I did have one question about the way they proposed doing it. Just, I'll pause for a second. You guys are familiar with this?
Yeah.
You saw the stuff
Yeah.
information, I think it's so not scratch. And my concern was that while the tree guy said he could cut the tree off whatever he wants for wildlife, like maybe 10 feet up, I think these woodpeckers are going there or something. We usually go a couple feet up and keep the roots for stabilization. In this particular case, it's on the side of a fairly steep bank. My concern was that he talked about removing with a mechanical device of some sort. I think we want to emphasize to the applicant and if we approve this, if it comes to us for approval, it's not actually been filed for,
We haven't been
RDA or
doing
anything.
for,
it's just information so far.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we bring up the picture with the shed?
My concern would be that they stay on the grass area on their side of the fence.
We don't know what they meant by mechanical
Right.
device. I would
Yeah,
imagine a
okay.
crane, I would imagine a crane.
Right, clarification, so for this slope bank and going into the wetlands, I think is a big no-no, they have to find another way.
They're not gonna drive a skidder.
It's the first picture.
No, it's semantic.
I gotta find
First time
that
over.
email.
Sure.
I sent you guys.
So wait for a second for the picture to come up.
No, kind of questionable.
Pictures.
Show and tell.
Is this the restriction fence?
I don't know.
No. Looks like just a property.
I think
It
it's
doesn't even look like that.
It's probably to keep their kid from going down the
Oh,
wetland.
yeah, it's probably just the.
A safety fence or
Dogs, kids in the yard, so they got the.
little chain thing.
The stuff.
There we go,
Like
there you
the
go,
baseball
that's the-
field, so the kids. don't-
The side view is, I think, even better, if you can get the one from the side, that shows the bank and.
The one at the fence and the, not the fence, the shed.
There we go.
I'm no expert, but that tree's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay, so that's not a boundary fence.
I don't.
No, it looks like more just like keeps the kids or the dogs or
Since the
something.
grass is beyond it too, Steve, I think.
In the yard.
That's what I was getting
Yeah.
at, because it's clearly being maintained on the other side of
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Right, and
Okay,
and if the wetlands line is at the bottom of the slope or even halfway down the slope, then they're maintaining property back there that they shouldn't be. They should be letting that go back to nature.
Which house number is this?
179.
it looks like there's a fire pit back there.
179. Okay, so their property does extend to the middle of the easement.
Yeah, since this is not, I don't think a imminent emergency, like they've had branches drop and hit anything yet, they're asking about doing this. How does the commission want to have proceed with it? I think something being done is okay with us, but just determining the 25-foot buffer, just,
Just an NOI.
you know, thinking the wetlands and maintaining, putting something into the wetlands, identifying where the wetlands line is and make sure that they know with badging or something that they shouldn't be going into the area, wherever it is. That is. I don't know,
Non-exempt activity,
it's gonna be,
Is what?
permanent
Pruning?
tree, thought that was exempt activity.
if it's emergency, we've issued emergency removal.
Well, that's a separate.
If they file an NOI, then we can do a negative with conditions.
Well, that's not an NOI, that would be an RDA.
No, I mean, that's what I meant, an RDA, sorry. I meant an RDA.
So we
Oh,
could-
okay. I
I'm
was like,
sorry.
Yeah, you said NOI. and I was
No,
like,
no,
really?
I 100% meant RDA,
okay.
so an RDA with potential conditions would be a way to go.
potentially a negative with conditions.
Is that? good with the rest of the.
Well,
Yeah,
the
and then
tree should
find-
come down at some
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah, oh, yeah, no,
Oh, yeah,
nobody's
yeah,
disagreeing.
no,
with
yeah.
taking a
You
chance.
can't do it and not affect anything.
No, not affect anything, but I think,
No, I think they probably can actually. They can, in there with if they sit in the yard with some sort of crane and then cut it and lift it out, it will be minimally invasive.
Until the crane sinks.
I had a
In their
company.
yard.
Yeah, I
Well,
would say
that's their yard.
I had 6 80-foot pine trees taken down, they didn't bring a crane and they took them in sections, dropped them down. And the guys, I was a little sketchy at first, because I knew this coming before, but they did a fantastic
You've
job.
been sketchy longer than that.
Yeah. I was sketchy with that about that.
Oh.
There was this one tree guy who will zip line it right out to the street from the treetop.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I feel like
They
it's
do
all
it
night.
actually.
It's the coolest thing.
Oh, yeah.
So there's different methods they could use, sort of, my point of concern, not concern, consideration would be as part of whatever we do with this app. And we want to have them identify, say clearly gone, really, what looks like close to wetlands, that they know going forward where they shouldn't be going and maintaining / dumping, who knows, whether the grass clippings are just over out of sight, or whether they've been taken away, and just mowing that far, where the property line is versus the, so those things are identified, and.
That's maybe a quick visit out there would answer a lot of those questions.
Does anybody want to take a drive out there at some point in time in the near future while we notify them about the RDA?
Just on that street.
Yeah.
Should have went.
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe you'll do a field trip on Ruth Allen.
Yeah.
Other stuff going on.
It's not far away.
No. Okay, so what's the pleasure of the commission? Somebody want to make a motion?
To do what?
Not motion, sorry, we've got, no, it's other business out there, there's nothing for motion. To instruct / ask our administrator to reach out to this person, property owner, and ask them to do an RDA.
Yeah, submit an RDA and come prepared with the methodology that the tree company suggest,
More specifically.
more specifically, what are they gonna do?
Yeah, like, are they gonna reach over with a crane, or are they gonna plan on going that whole?
A machine doesn't really tell us a whole lot.
Okay.
Could be a time machine for all we know, go back to when the tree was alive.
Okay, now we're leaping beyond.
Okay, Ray Bradbury.
All right, 19 Bellstone.
Right, so we got that going. All right, let me get the other.
No time machines, all right?
Any other comments about 179?
Negative. Good evening. Good evening.
One second, let me make sure our other two online people have had a chance to respond about 179. Any other info, right?
I'm good.
Okay, no, good. All right. Moving on to 19 Bellstone Drive.
Yeah, my name's Steve Hamilton. I just want to see where we're at.
You're the neighbor.
Right, so
So
Rob
Anna
probably,
has some information,
Rob probably has more of
and
the,
Rob has even more. He's just deferring to Rob.
I have a suggestion based on what Rob has said,
Well,
but I
like-
feel like maybe he should.
At the end of our last meeting, everything was going on hold until we
Right.
got more information on exactly jurisdictionally, water-wise, everything, what was going on in the back of the property.
And I
So everything
also,
was kind of
yeah,
on pause.
and I reached out to DEP, which that's the whole circuit rider thing, so I haven't
Ah.
heard back.
Okay.
Yeah, but I just saying with potentially the, us withdrawing, is there a process with that?
We've already done it. So we want to make sure we do it correctly, so we don't violate you're in the process of trying to sell a house, we understand that, and so timing is critical for you. We don't even know, because when the enforcement order was put in place, it was
Oh, I thought you wanted me to look that up.
not, do you remember when the enforcement order was put in place? You might have gotten notified on it. I was just trying to get an approximate date. DEP in its infinitely glacial haste may have already filed it with your Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. They're the ones that do that. We don't. So we don't know where that process is with the deed, which would affect your potential sale. It may not make it, it may make it maybe in the mail, who knows? No, I just need a date. I just have a date on there. It's 3
You
weeks
can look
ago,
at the
4 weeks ago.
signatures, maybe?
I
Yeah.
give it a lot, Rob's.
Rob will see that.
Potentially.
Oh,
Potentially, we could just
that.
close it. I mean, I think that is the process, is we have to close it, we don't withdraw.
Okay. But do we have an open hearing? The question is, we haven't had one actually.
You don't have hearings on, you don't have hearings because there's no
An
filing.
enforcement could be rectified like that, hypothetically, so we could close it after.
Because our
I
our
just want to get the
recommendation was
wording
that it's
correct
gonna
for our
come
motion that we made,
with a
whatever we made this
plan, with an
motion.
NOI plan, but since we're withdrawing it or
Is,
deciding potentially to
I
withdraw
understand
it.
Tim and DPW were gonna, what you mentioned, well, look at it, see Did that happen?
Just one thing first, the date, April 10th, 2024. That's so,
Just a heads up, we don't know, we don't control that process for the, when it would be reported at the registry, but if that is, that has caused problems with people trying to sell a property, having that enforcement order attached to it. So if you can check with the registry of deeds in your own best interest to make sure nothing's on there as of whatever time now, tomorrow, next day, whatever, that would be in your best interest. We don't control that. It might happen after you check the next day. Who knows if that happened in April, but we filed it. That's a long time in our view, but maybe rushing it for DEP with their staffing and whatever. So Rob, do you have some other information to share?
not really. I know, I did reach out to Tim about this, which I know.
Neil's asking.
Yeah, he went out to the site, but I don't think it was necessarily for the conservation side of things. It was more to look on the building side to see if there was anything that was built. That was my understanding based on my conversation with him.
So DPW has not yet acted on any sort of master planning?
No.
Have they gone out to look at it to see about starting that process?
Yeah, there's been a lot of movement as far as the, drainage on Bellstone Drive. Basically, what's happening now is there's probably about like 10 serious drainage issues in Bellingham that we're really trying to figure out holistically and categorize, prioritize, figure out how we're gonna tackle these things. Bellstone is one of them, and it all comes down to funding and timing essentially. So we have basically went out, I think it's Ty and Bond that is right now looking into this to figure out the solution. It's pretty significant because you're talking about drainage easements, you're talking about conveyance structures and basically tying into the drainage within Bellstone Drive, which might also need improvements to handle everything, so.
Right, are the inlet and outlet structures on Bellstone going to support whatever they do out in the back? I mean, there's a whole, you get those down, you start moving water and you have to move it all the way along.
And I think it all comes down to exactly what the commission was concerned about with 1052 South Main Street with, hey, we can fix the flooding here. What does that mean downstream? And you bring up an excellent point.
Okay, so progress is being made, but not at a huge rush, just so that you know
And
that.
we're still at the point where I'm not convinced personally that it's jurisdiction.
And, I went out there and to see wetland, not that I'm a wetland scientist, but, you can tell where there are some wetland plants and it doesn't really seem like it's wetlands. I mean, it's clearly a drainage channel, but,
If we needed to, the Concom could take it to see if we want to get that question answered, that Neil just raised. We could for a fairly short money prove ESC to come out, do a quick wetland scientist and say, there's no wetlands within 100 feet of any of these houses, and then we know it's not jurisdictional, and it would then, just for your information, be more of a DPW and town-wide issue than coming to us, because we wouldn't be able to do anything about it if it isn't, but that's a decision that Concom members have to.
So what do we tell this gentleman relative to the order issued against him?
Well,
Last
that-
time we
before you
were
get off-
just gonna not do anything.
Right, because and I understand that his timing is quite pressing. I'm open to suggestions. If we want to just close and find some wording that we can agree upon tonight, the order of condition, the enforcement order, and think that we've done it right, and we may have done it right, great. My concern was, I've never done this, so I don't know that we do it correctly.
Let me reword it. Did we erroneously issue the enforcement based on the luck?
We don't know.
Well, we issued it because of information that we had at the time, which seemed to indicate there was a problem created by one neighbor directly affecting another. Now we've been informed through multiple sources that that's a bigger problem, and it wasn't
So
necessarily.
then the orders really shouldn't stand.
Which shouldn't stand, but removing it is correctly is my only concern. We agree that we want to.
Well, no, if it is jurisdictional and there has been work done,
Oh, well.
then yes, it is valid.
It's valid, it's just whether we feel that it's fair to only punish one neighbor when multiple neighbors have
Right.
altered.
Yeah,
But if it's
I
not
think that it
jurisdictional,
is jurisdictional because it's isolated land subject to flooding, right?
is it?
It
Is
isn't,
Is it?
I
That we
think
couldn't
so.
Figure out.
based on the
Based on
information
what?
that I have.
Based
Huh?
on what, Arian? Sorry again, say again.
Based on what we've talked about so far on this property.
Well, Yeah, but we don't have definitive
It's
soils,
not recorded.
vegetation, hydrology.
Well,
reports
what
or
kind of
anything.
soils do isolated lands subject to flooding have?
That's why I'm suggesting that if we want to get a definitive answer, we pay a little money to BSC, hire them to do a very limited study of that area with some parameters.
No, I don't think so. I think,
If you want to
you
get
know,
the
once
answer.
they come up with a plan for the drainage fix, they submit an NOI.
Who owns that drainage? So I thought that was DPW.
Yeah, you're referring to the town, right, Ariane?
Yeah,
Yeah,
So we need to
so,
remove this homeowner's liability. This is-
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Even if this is a jurisdictional area.
Right, I agree.
The fix is not his fix, it's
yeah, so he's,
Wow.
I feel like
town's fix.
the enforcement order isn't
The fix will be
applicable
the
anymore.
towns, but any impacts that have occurred up to this point that were done without a permit are in fact his problem.
And all the other property owners that have potentially done.
Well, we would.
Yeah,
we would
technically
have to
there'd be
address
separate
that.
enforcement orders.
We would have to have a
Right.
series of enforcement orders going down the road.
Right.
Is that
But this is
the
the,
road we
but
would
this
want
is
to
the
take?
issue we have in front of us.
Yeah, we're only reviewing 19 Bellstones now. We're not expanding this to the entire road. That's not something I think that we want to do at this point. So what is the pleasure of the commission? I'm hearing that everybody seems to be in agreement that 19 Bellstones enforcement order should be removed.
Pending more information,
And what's right?
pending more
Well,
information.
see, you were saying pending more information. I'm not hearing that from some of the other members, so we need clarity on what each member feels about this. So speak up, please, others.
Well, let me.
Yeah,
clarify.
I just, I
Hold on, Marion,
dissent.
please, hang on. Let Steve finish, please.
By the phrase pending more information, I'm thinking if we had to reissue it down the road, when we all understand what the issue is, who's responsible for it, and what caused it and what the fix is, then we could reissue the order. But that's the pending additional information, so I think
Okay,
it
so you're
should
not
be
waiting for it
removed
before-
now.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, okay. Ariane, go ahead, you were starting to say something?
I don't agree because I feel that it's a neighborhood-wide issue and that the effects that have been done by the I guess the enforcee, question mark, himself, have been minor relative to the overall impacts from the neighborhood and the inadequate drainage that was installed there. And that if he's attempting to sell his home and leave the property, that it wouldn't be very enforceable anyway if he left.
Right, so I'm sorry, you started off by saying you don't agree. It seems like the agreement portion is that we want to remove the enforcement order. So you're saying you do agree to remove the enforcement order?
Yeah, but I don't think
Okay.
it should be pending additional information because
Right,
the
no, Steve-
information is gonna be from the
yeah.
DPW.
Right, I think Steve is saying that go ahead and remove the existing enforcement order for future enforcement orders after we get more information that might be necessary, whether it's one house, two houses, or a whole street. We could deal with that down the road. So he is advocating for it as well, not holding it up for more information, which he just clarified.
That's not what,
What?
I thought you were saying, remove this one after we hear more.
No, no.
Yeah.
Remove it now, we may need to reissue it down the road.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make a motion to remove this enforcement order,
For 19, wow,
19 Bellstrom.
Second.
By discharging it in the registry of deeds.
is that the correct phrasing? You looked it up somewhere for us, Googled it?
That's what I've seen
Okay.
in my
that's-
deed searches.
Say that again, Ariane, please.
By recording a discharge of it in the registry of deeds.
Being written down by somebody somewhere.
Ariane, does it need to be discharged without precedence, with any identifying factor, or?
There has to be a
Um,
process for completing, for closing. Whether there's been action or no action, there's a process for closing out. I don't know what it is off the top of my head for closing out.
Yeah, I'd have to look into the
We have
details.
to close the enforcement order.
So we can attempt
That's
to
our
do this
response.
tonight. If it's not correct, we will have to either modify it if it can be done without having another meeting, or you know, if it's just a paperwork issue and they just correct something at DEP/Registry of Deeds, whatever level, but we can check that out. If we ever hear back from the DEP circuit rider. That would be the best source for that, but we can move forward with whatever we want to do tonight. So we've got that motion made.
I'll
and
second it.
seconded by. Sorry? I thought Eric,
James has seconded it already.
Okay, so.
I'll third it.
Okay. Steve made the motion. And James seconded it, and that's, we'll all be approving. So, a vote, any other questions, any other comments?
I have a quick question. I don't know
Yes.
if it's necessarily, if you can help me answer this, but I have checked the registry and the original order is not on there. It was checked as of yesterday. So do you have any direction to me as to who would have issued that to be on the registry of deeds? Would that be the DEP that I should know? Because I guess in my world, so I am the realtor, and I was a former paralegal, so when we convey title, it needs to be clear to the next buyer in order of it to be, passed through the registry the correct way. My fear would be that we need to make, I would, trying to find out if I should call the DEP to find out, can they record the first one, and then can they record the release to make sure it's passing the right way?
My suggestion, you do that, and Hannah will be probably doing simultaneously that with through the
With my contact.
circuit rider
Okay,
/ DEP at the DEP, and if you get answers, talk to each other. and
yeah, okay,
get-
so we can
get-
do that after.
That
Okay.
seems cleanest to me.
Is there not a provision to recall the enforcement order?
Probably is. I'm sure there's so many provisions that the state has put in place, but we just don't know what it is
In
tonight.
which case, it doesn't need to be recorded at all.
It may not have been, it may not be. I don't know. We've done so few enforcement orders, Steve, over the years, they can be counted on one hand.
It's potentially already in the process.
It might be in the queue.
It's just, it's moving through the process somewhere.
So I've
So,
got a call from Will.
Yeah, sometimes it takes them
Thank
like a
you.
month to record.
okay, so these comments are great, but we're gonna move on to the vote. Don,
I,
Steve,
Aye.
Neil,
Abstain.
thank you. Mike, aye. James?
Aye.
Ariane? Online. Okay, Noel online?
Aye.
Okay, so we have a 6-1 vote, 1 abstaining, 6 yes, passes, and we're officially. How do we phrase it?
This truck.
Close.
Close with discharge to the registry deed. That item,
Why
okay,
do you abstain?
all right,
Cause I still
Any-
don't know if it's just.
Well, you're good to go.
You're-
By the way, thank you for coming.
Any other questions you have, let us know.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Coming tonight.
I thought I had put Monique. Paul Monique on
You
here.
mentioned that to me when we were talking earlier today, but I don't remember
I
what.
thought I might have even put it in a text message or an email. or
It's,
something.
the files are there.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's under other business, so it's okay that it's brought up.
That's fine.
Yes,
This was the what?
that was the sidewalk where he was questioning, or Monique was questioning what he can and can't do in the wetland area.
Oh, right, in the
Tree house,
treehouse.
yeah, but the end of that conversation was, what was 12 Monique doing? And I had forwarded you guys that permit. And it was permitted by someone, I don't know. I don't know if you know. No.
Who is that?
Stephen,
Talking faster than I'm moving.
no, he should to Mike Prince,
Even the
Stephen
next door neighbor with the shed.
Johnson.
Stuff goes right back there into the.
That's the engineer of record, or is that the town staff? What is?
Town staff says issued to Mike Fritz, it's Steve Johnson's signature at the bottom.
Who's Steve Johnson?
What year's it from?
This recent. it was-
January 25th of this year. Ninth edition,
To build the shed?
construction needed to build a prefab 12 by 16 wood shed.
Who's Steve Johnson?
I have no idea.
And that's a building
Steve
permit?
Johnson.
From the town of Bellingham.
Should be something in the building department, ideally.
Because,
Is it town of,
no, I thought.
city of Bellingham, Washington?
Town of Bellingham.
Wait, I
but
can share.
MA,
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I just want to make sure that.
oh.
There's,
Yeah.
there's,
History
there
side.
have been, just FYI, I mean,
We haven't officially
every
closed.
building permit,
We,
every building permit should be going through
You
him.
wanna see this?
Looking at it.
yeah, we're still on a cable, yes.
Yeah, yep, we are
We
still
haven't
recording.
actually closed the meeting. I just like-
Every building permit for, not for interior work or something like that, but
Yeah.
anything that outdoorsy, building permits should be run by you. So you can sign off that it's not jurisdiction or potentially jurisdiction. Because we get things like this where there's potentially a building permit issued to build a shed basically in the wetland.
This is Bellingham, Mass, and not Washington.
So I guess we need to
I didn't know that. I mean,
walk up and down the Bellingham, building department to see if anybody's got his name tag that's been changed from Stephen Johnson to something else, or.
I mean, I know they have,
Stephen Johnson, Inspectional Services Title, Local Inspector. On our site.
oh, so he might be one of the, like interim, I know that there are, like in the inspectional services, they have like 3 wire inspectors, 3 plumbing inspectors, and I don't know if there's like interim inspectors, but I have not met Mr. Johnson. I'll just put it
phone
that.
number if you want it.
That's okay. No, that's all right.
Well, it's not okay because he shouldn't have issued it without talking to somebody, so, this would be a good question for Tim as to why Steve Johnson, who's on his staff, I assume, would issue something in the wetlands without notifying us, and are there other projects like this, Steve, or Tim, that your people may not know that they need to run by us because we wouldn't have permitted this?
So this is
Well, we'd have had
their
issues.
certificate of completion, meaning it's been built.
Yep.
So they
It's all set.
They
did
approved-
put a shed in the wetland, or is it in just buffers?
We don't know, it was the neighbor
yeah.
taking a picture of the neighbor's property next to him, I remember at the last meeting.
From the picture, it looked inside 50.
yeah,
Like inside 25.
Well,
Some
I'm
cabbage,
being,
yeah.
I'm being generous that it's inside 50, which, it's inside the 100.
I know that there used to be a document, because I've seen it, people will come down to the office and be like, can you sign off? They would give it to Amy and be like, can you sign off on this? And I don't know if conservation's on that document.
So that is I think what you're referring to is the business licenses.
They just basically go department to department.
Well,
Yeah.
they also,
Or-
they check to make sure, before you get a permit like that, they make sure you're up on your property taxes.
Right,
Yeah, because they have to go to the finance department.
So they do have to walk it through a couple of places to make sure that
yeah.
everything is, kosher.
Typically, the business licenses come down to the land use office to die. It's where like devil horns come out. So. Yeah, with these. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't I talk to Tim, if it makes sense, to see if we can get some type of process in place, because, I mean, yeah, that's.
We had one, I don't know if it was informal or formal process, and I know it was not necessarily followed strictly,
Yeah,
but a case like this is perfect example of where there may be a gap in our process.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Because, the homeowner did what he thought was correct and got a sign off on it, and, there's no malfeasance, but.
Yeah, and this was another situation too, where like the wetlands, it's not shown up on Mass Mapper, because Mass Mapper is only approximate anyway.
Right.
I wonder if that might be, because I know Tim has come down to my office for certain jurisdictional things. For wetland stuff, but only if it's shown on Mass Mapper usually.
Let me ask a question for the previous meeting. Do any of the members here remember whether we got a commitment for the clean out of the drainage, the detention basin behind 206 Mechanic from? They talked about they're gonna go in, they're gonna cut the things off low, they're gonna drag the silt out by hand, not put a big machine down there. Is that been like signed off on and they're going ahead and doing that? Or did we just talk about how they would like to do it and are offering to do it, because it's required as part of their order of conditions, but that there's not a plan to actually do that? They didn't get the thumbs up from us, go ahead and do this, because I didn't have a sense of
I think
closure.
we didn't update you, because after that, I think it was the next day, because I was in it, the CC email, you said, this is what the commission said, and they responded positively. Said, yes, we'll do that.
Yeah, I
So
thought.
it looks like they're gonna go in, they're gonna cut it up.
We said it was okay.
I think we liked
Yeah.
it, but I didn't remember a process where somebody said, okay, we'll go tell them to go ahead and do it.
No, we.
So that was the part I was making sure I wanted, is that
Well,
closing loops, we're talking about closing loops. and
Yeah, I
Good.
updated them after the meeting, and actually I went out there to meet with them. It was like, it probably would have been the beginning of the week after that meeting, so last week.
Okay.
It's a lot easier way to say it. Last week, I went out there.
Recently.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're gonna take care of it, and they'll let us know when they've done it, so we can go take a look.
Yeah, because just so you're aware of what's going on over there. They started cutting down the trees. We had that really bad heat wave that went for a few days, so they stopped cutting, but they did like about a quarter of the basin. Went out there to take a look, it looked good. What they might be coming back with is some type of design, because apparently when water is coming through, they have that big riprap spillway that comes down. That's not a spillway, it's an apron for the roof drains. That apron doesn't go all the way into the basin. It actually stops at the fence, and then basically the water just keeps going.
They're getting erosion below it.
They are, you'll actually see that there's plenty of vegetation holding it, but when you walk in and you're expecting, it's very rough.
Yeah. So they need to extend the apron?
Exactly, so I told them, you can't just do it, like, get something in front of the commission so we can actually approve something.
Okay.
So they're planning on doing that, and I think when they do that, since they will need equipment.
That's good. That's a good fix. And that's maintenance. That's a maintenance thing. That's not a new filing or anything like that.
No, definitely not, so while they're.
Especially if they're making an improvement to it.
Yep, so while
So
they're.
who, is that on the Lindenmere or the 206? 206.
I believe it is 206.
I think it was, people refer to that, maintaining that is in the order of conditions for them. Lindenmeyer hasn't maintained it, I don't think ever, because even though it is right up against their property, they probably have some drainage going into there too.
Lindenmeyer is going into.
Oh, it's
they do-
taking
I know
their
it-
drainage.
No, it's taking their drainage, but no, as far as their commitment to maintaining it, I don't know if there's in their order of conditions. Their project was done so many years ago, it was before my time, I think even. So
Yeah,
whether they're doing it or not, if 206 is gonna do it, I think we're fine
I'm
with
not
that.
sure the Lindenmeyer property was jurisdiction.
Yeah, I know, but I don't.
The basement was overbuilt.
It was overbuilt, knowing that
Way-
they were
Yeah, oh yeah, it was
going
it was
to
crazy
develop.
overbuilt.
They
Yeah,
kind of knew that something else was flying in there.
yeah, I think there was some sort of plan that it was going to be further development and they should just do this and.
I'm hoping that when it's done, everybody has a chance to take a look at it in person, because standing in the middle of that enormous basin, it's very interesting.
It probably doesn't feel like a basin here. No.
No, well, right now, it feels like you're in the middle of the woods, because there's these trees growing up, and there's actually a little path going through, but, it's massive.
That place to go is just go down Lindenmeyer's parking lot, parking at the backside there and go walk down along the property line, down the hillside. I did that when I was first spotting some erosion was going, when they were still just landscaping.
Does it abut up against the rail lines?
No,
I don't think it
it's
was.
not real. It doesn't.
No, I think that there's a strip of, woods, I believe, because I went to that end and there's no clearing. that
In
you
behind
can see.
Riley's, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of hard to.
It's still Riley, right?
Yeah, I think it was Bevel Lock.
Yeah, I think it's
That's
Riley.
right.
That's right.
Riley's on the other side of the rail lines.
No, it's on.
It's between that and Blue Links, I think,
Yeah,
Railway.
the railway's in between the.
because there's a spur that goes up into
Riley
Blue
and
Links.
Blue Link.
Point of information for commission members, I discussed this with Hannah and asked her for some input. We're coming up to two, potentially three projects which will require pre-construction meetings, which I have zero experience with. Hannah has not either, this will be first, as the conservation administrators in the past, meaning Ann for the last 40 years, was always at those and representing Concom, and along with all the other town officials that need to be there. And or Cliff, who may have been there at times or not. I asked Hannah how comfortable she would feel to enlist the services on a one or maybe two meeting basis, pre-con meeting, to have the experience and benefit of having, especially as the projects I'm mentioning are Lucille's, which is relatively small, but still important to get it right, and the slope behind it and so forth, and 217 Hartford, we're getting close on that. 217 Hartford is massive, and I could go to sit one of those and I'd just be missing whatever things I want to make sure get on our Concom radar scope for that meeting representing us. While the developer wants to get in and out as quick as possible, doing what they have to, and they may be really good and cover everything. I don't even know who would take the lead on those meetings, whether it's planning board or whether it's. It's certainly not left up to the applicant to take it. So I've asked Hannah to see what she thought about this. She will be the lead person going to these meetings. And whether she feels comfortable benefiting from that, at least like try it with one and see how it goes. And if we want to have a second, assuming Cliff or Ann are available.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm suggesting that we hire, as we have occasionally for specific things,
Ah.
Cliff or Ann Matthews' experience to go to one or two of the pre-con meetings for these big projects to get the benefit of their experience, so we don't miss something that the developers are gonna share with us. Hey, you forgot to ask about this, and it goes right over our heads and it wasn't discussed at that critical time. And I think the benefit for them, I'm pretty sure Cliff or Ann would be more than happy to do that. We would certainly compensate them. We have funds in the, just like we've been paying them for these other brief consults on the 217 order of conditions writing and so forth.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
just want to feel out the board and see what,
Yes,
Noel, you
100%.
hearing all that?
Sorry, run that by me again.
A long time ago, when I was born in South Carolina.
Well, first the earth cooled, then the dinosaurs came.
So,
I think it's a great idea. My suggestion would be that two of us.
and I'm certainly opening up.
Be there.
I was just gonna say, thank you for reminding me. I was gonna also encourage any members that want to go to these pre-con. We don't have a limit on how many Concom members can go.
Well,
Usually,
not quorum.
well, don't worry, I don't think we'll have a quorum. But yes, we don't want to see if there are 5 of you in the room, 1 of you walk out, please. We don't want to have a meeting violation.
I'm
So,
fine with it, but I would just check with town council first,
for what?
just to make sure that it doesn't give the appearance of a conflict of interest.
For whom? For who?
Just
Well,
us,
I-
because we used to be on the same commission as Cliff.
Yeah, I think we covered that with the last time we did that. We used them on the Lou Petrosi project, the first one, not the second one, where we had Cliff and Matt working together to design the order of conditions, and Cliff walked the site with us with the permission of the town council, because they said, as you're using him as a consultant, paid consultant, you can do that, and he's no longer a member of the Concom. I think we were covered, but we can double check that. It's not a bad point on our end to make sure we have plenty of time. We haven't, gotten to the point where we've scheduled any pre-con meetings or anything, but I just want to get ahead of the ball and not, after all the
We
work.
haven't even issued on one of them.
Right. Yeah, and so just trying to get ahead of the ball, sound out how Hannah felt about it. She's taking the lead on it, so I don't step on toes and so forth, but it would be beneficial. And then reach out to Cliff and Ann if the Concom is behind this after I bring it up to you guys tonight, and we can sound them out and see, do it. And we already said, we have plenty of funds. I don't envision to be a lengthy process. A couple of meetings would be a couple of hours for each one if we do more than one.
Yes.
So, anybody have any objections to that? Noel, Ariane?
Nay, no.
Nay, no. Okay, I'll take that. No, no objections. Okay, we don't need to vote or anything. I just wanted to sound out the Concom.
It's a great
Nay.
idea.
Are we just asking them for institute, like, because they work here when
Their
they're.
historical benefit of their.
They've been to
knowledge.
100, they've been to 1,000 pre-construction meetings.
40 years worth each of them.
Right.
So, yeah, the benefit of having that, and they've been willing to support that.
Right,
You know, if you've never been there,
Right,
you
so
have no idea.
they could sit in,
So,
walk Hannah through the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
And we'll take notes and be expert.
Just like that.
Just like,
And if Lucille's comes up first and
the hour.
217 second, we may want to do both because 217 is so much bigger than Lucille's, but if it come up in the other order.
the
Somebody
process,
actually,
well,
somebody actually heard a rumor
the
that they,
process.
Concom was slowing up Lucille's, then that's why they hadn't demoed Bluebird, and so then I informed Cliff that his neighbor was wrong, that we had proved it a long time ago.
Yeah.
And that
That was today.
Okay. No, that the process,
Don't put
the process is moving along and it's fine. Thanks for those neighbors. I don't know why the neighbors are worried about it, but whatever. Anything else, Hannah?
Yeah, last thing.
I have one thing.
Okay, and then.
Yes, one thing. Mine will be brief. I mentioned it in the email, about having a workshop specifically for the types of questions that pop up over and over again in a lot of our hearings or other business. And I checked at MACC, they said we have a program called Rent an Expert, where you pay $200, which is a donation to MACC. And you can create your own workshop based on your town, and
We just need to make sure enough
What,
members. are
what kind of
available.
workshop?
Whatever
An
time.
hour, 2 hours, half
yeah,
a
like
day?
a 2 hour in the field on public land, probably our property, just really truly like defining, this is how you define a wetland, or, Bellingham has lots of disturbed areas. How do we determine, like, do we now consider this a wetland, even though it's been disturbed? Like all those kinds of questions that we always talk about. And they said,
That's who we would use.
Matt Burns. And I was like, oh, I know him. And
Use him.
so she said, talk to him. And so he's like, yeah, I'll run it. And I thought it was a good idea because
I love the
he knows
idea.
the kinds of questions that we ask.
We want to maximize the number of members that can attend, so we want to probably start tossing around some dates. We can do it tonight, or we can do it electronically in the next couple.
Could we do it publicly?
So yeah, that's the
Yes,
thing.
you
It's
have
like,
posted because you have a
yeah.
forum area. and you're right.
Hopefully we would have quorum because people would participate. I'd have to post it. I would also like to invite someone or multiple someones from DPW because we've been meshing with them a lot. Obviously. I invite
Get the building
Rob.
department in there too. Sorry, inspectional services, TM.
Yeah, maybe some specific people from there.
That
Our intern.
Johnson.
Mr. Johnson. Yeah, our
Yeah.
interns, yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I
Myself.
commend Hannah on it, because that's a good initiative, and we could, and I suggested, my point was, pick a couple of sites that are fairly close to each other in town. One's a fairly straightforward, simple one, and one that's more convoluted, obviously public land, and you can't go on somebody's, or, you know, you're not going to 217 Hartford or something like
Once
that.
you guys have complicated properties.
But if you guys have properties that you think would be a great one to go look at, that has murky lines, where having maps show us how you clarify this one.
I do, but it's in Medway.
So, okay, well, stay in town. Anyway, and ideally, if we get one or two, maybe they're close together, we could do them in a couple of hours and knock it off on a Saturday or whatever day works for people.
I could get permission from the Brooks family there to do the area along the Snet, you know, on Lake Street.
Is it a
'Cause that's very-
closed project?
What's that?
Is it closed?
No, there's no project.
Oh, there's no
It's farmland.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
because
Yeah, so that's the only thing is that I have to make sure that it isn't
Yeah.
not any kind of filing. part of
Right.
it. Yeah.
I don't want to be.
No, I would just ask for permission, get it in writing, that we can, because she lets me, I'm on her land all the time,
Oh, okay.
cleaning it and.
If it looks like there's some good, you know, wetland.
Yeah, I think,
delineation
no,
areas,
that's why, I think it's pretty, I'd love to know, it's pretty.
But we have some of our
complex.
properties too, so we
Yeah.
can maybe. get a-
Okay, so we'll,
Yeah, so
Those are
what
the
I,
papers, too.
obviously I wanted to inform you.
Walk over some of CR sites. Like a 2-for-1 today.
So, obviously I want to inform you, but also if you have thoughts like that. Email me those kinds of topics, because Matt's gonna create his workshop based on what we feel like we need,
right, we have to see
It's
his
geared to
availability too,
us.
obviously, but
so.
he's amenable. I think he told Hannah already, Saturdays work for him. He's familiar with coming out
Yeah.
for our sidewalks. So maybe focus maybe on a Saturday that we can do one, to see, hopefully.
Should we email you questions too?
That's, yeah, she's just encouraging people to do that. Questions or thoughts, and ideas of where to go, maybe. Anyway.
Alright.
Yep.
Probably like start a draft and then
Uh-huh.
like get to it a few times.
I'm gonna limit you to 100 words.
Yeah.
It,
Okay,
Google's
Regina.
probably gonna crash before I
Anything else
send
with
it.
that, Hannah? You good?
No, that's
Okay,
it.
Neil, jump on it.
Okay, the bark mulch pile. Maple Street.
Yeah.
So,
Bark
Mulch Mountains.
pile. Mulch Mountain,
oh, yeah.
on Mulch Mountain. We had somewhere somewhere in something, we had an agreement, order something, not sure exactly, Mike might know. If you've ever driven by, you'll notice on the south end, there's the fence that runs all the way around. Well, between the fence and the mulch pile on the southern end, there's a row of large logs. Those logs were put there to limit their activity. Their activity should not extend beyond the logs. Now around the back, those logs, I believe, were supposed to go and create a border, a buffer big enough to drive a fire truck around between the logs and the fence in the back.
You're gonna look at it.
I think it's gone. And that they've gone all the way up to the fence with stuff,
Which would be a violation.
which would be a violation of our order.
And frankly, I would call the fire department,
That's-
because if it wasn't, and I agree with you, it was a fire lane that had to be maintained as part of the agreement. They got that from the approvals.
And I don't know if it was created as a fire lane or if that was an auxiliary sort of thing, or if it was also as a buffer because they had gone with the fence and everything. They
Yeah.
had gone further than they
I
were
took
supposed to.
pictures years ago, just so you know, they had logs laying across the fence that had protruded, because at one point in time, they had the logs back there. And they were right over that, they were over a detention basin that they had basically destroyed by covering with stuff. In the back right corner as you face the property. The question I have is, I don't think they ever finished litigating, I think there's still litigation, so technically. They may not have to do that fire lane yet, but it's certainly worth a double check.
Well, no, because we mandated, we had the log barrier.
To get
for
our
a
approval, so
reason.
they may have violated our thing, our
Correct.
thing is, they might still say, hey, we can pull that back, whatever, because. And you can't stop us from continuing to operate as we are now, because we are still litigating with the town and we have the right to do it, which they might be right, but we can still tell them, we gotta pull it back, so. Yeah, we need to probably tell them that we wanna do a site walk and get permission to walk them in there, and we can just drive in there, they got big machines and.
No, we wouldn't go, yeah,
Yeah.
this was a more of a research project, please.
Mulch mountain.
Yeah, because did we ever give them an order of
One
conditions?
sixty-one made. what?
Yeah, it wasn't, we did give an order, didn't we, Eric?
I don't remember.
We went along, I can't remember the final, but we issued something.
Yeah, we did finally.
So
I
there's
think
a
we-
something,
I think
there's
we
a
had-
something issued on
I
it.
think regrettably, or not regrettably, but I wasn't told about, it. I think I may have voted against it as a matter of principle that I didn't agree with the projects. The environmental side of the project.
Now, wasn't that the site that was gonna be a indoor motocross?
Yeah, so at one point in time, they paved it actually. I didn't realize it was paved underneath that. Those mountain things,
That's paved?
it's paved. They got the plan, they had paved it.
Yeah, that was supposed to be an indoor motocross building with parking and all that
And it
outside.
may not have been the entire site was paved, but at least portions of it were, because I questioned that at one point. I
And
didn't
that
know,
went,
yeah, paved.
that went bust, and the next thing you know, it
Which
was
is
a
why-
pile of bark mulch.
Which is
Yeah,
why
like a
runoff from that,
100-foot pile.
which is why runoff from that was a big concern, with us,
Yeah.
because those were treated.
I wondered how that got approved. You
It
drive
didn't.
by and
It
you can't
didn't.
breathe sometimes.
Yeah,
It still hasn't, it's being litigated, it's
Yeah.
still being litigated.
if I recall, because that was one of the first projects when I was the associate on the planning board. That they did come in front for a development plan review, which I think was actually a result from them being in court litigating with the town. And I think it got denied again, if I'm not mistaken, so I believe they're still in court from the planning.
I just, after a heavy rain,
Concurrent
it's that
with the original.
not destroyed.
Is it, is it
I don't,
I believe it got sold,
recently?
I wanna say 3 to 5 years ago.
I don't know if the owner changed, I know that the operator changed. Like the,
Entity.
It was the folks out of Maine, out of Dover Foxcroft, like way up,
I don't,
like where they grow the trees.
okay, I don't know about that, but I do recall during the planning board process.
My
that-
kids used to go to school with their kids, they lived on the property.
Yeah, so during the planning board process, I recall that there was a lot of issues with the mulch caving in on like machinery and
Well, the
such.
fire department he buried himself twice,
Yeah.
2 or 3 times,
So-
rolling the excavator.
So I think that was the current or the previous operator. I don't know if that was the owner or the current owner, but then.
You drive by,
there's a
you
new-
still wonder how you can
I
put the
think
house
there's
next
a
to
new
it across the street.
operator.
It's like,
All right, that was my only point.
okay.
What year, if I'm looking at filings, if you had a guess? When you said you were starting,
4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, I think
Maybe more.
I think 2021.
Oh, it goes back longer. than that. Our work was probably 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
I'll look, I might even have some old paperwork.
Yeah, it was at least 4 or 5 years ago that we did what we did, and,
Okay.
and I just think there's, it looks to me driving by like on the back side that there's been some Mission Creek.
okay.
Yeah. Check April of 2021.
And they're often connected to
And
the
if it's
fire
not
department
there,
watering in town.
It's not there, you can check.
April 12th, 2020.
Every year.
Yeah.
7:15 PM.
Any other business, any other business? I'm gonna try to get us out of here at least an hour, folks. So the agenda was so short, I don't want anybody saying, oh, we're not doing. Anything else? Prospect Hill Village, one other point of information, you may want to check the Franklin Town Planning, Conservation Commission hearings recently. They did
Is it recorded?
deny something there.
Can you
And
see
for
it?
lack of funds that were available, this is public information, is available on the town website, so I'm not saying anything with the applicant not here. But Hannah's informed me that she watched that meeting and not enough filing money was submitted, so it was denied based on that. And of course, that didn't make the applicant very happy, as you can picture. And I'm not sure what the result of that will be. I'm sure appeals and other things falling out, but right now with Franklin, he's been denied for that reason.
August 2020.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
I have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Second with James, online, Ariane, adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Right, no, just
Oh,
yes or no.
aye.
All right, thank you. Noel online,
Aye.
James,
Aye.
Mike, Neil.
I would abstain.
Okay, no, the vote was, it's the meeting.
Nay.
This is the meeting.
Steve, aye. Unanimous vote. Thank you very much. We close the meeting.
Work. I had a sidewalk.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Good night.
Good to see you online.